In 1953, a quiet statistic began to repeat itself across the city. Murders were reported, investigations were opened, files were created, and then nothing. Less than 10% of these cases were ever solved. The rest remained suspended in time, unanswered, untouched, officially open and unofficially forgotten. Tonight, I want to return to one of those cases, a case that never closed, not because there was no evidence, but because there was too much silence. I've studied this story for a long time. I've read the reports, I've listened to the testimonies, and the more I studied it, the clearer one disturbing thought became. Everyone in this story seems to know who the murderer is, and yet no one ever says it. This is the story of a boy who was killed in front of many people, in a place that was not hidden, at a time that was not late, surrounded by noise, movement, and witnesses, and still mysteriously, no one officially noticed the person responsible. No accusation, no confession, only glasses, half words, and memories that stop just before they become dangerous. Tonight, I want you to come with me back into this story, back into the same street, the same minute, the same unanswered questions. It is midnight now. I'm sitting alone in a quiet, dark room, reopening a case that never truly ended. I don't promise answers. I don't promise justice. But together, we will observe, we will listen, we will analyze, and maybe, just maybe, we will understand who could be the most probable murderer and why everyone chose not to see him. Part 1. The Shape of a Lie. A lie is rarely a sentence. It's a shape, a space where something should be and isn't. Inside the police station, the board was full. Photos, maps, timestamps. Detectives tried to draw a straight line through the evening. They failed because the line kept bending. 7:12, Alice seen near the building. 7:15, wallet reported missing. 7:18, noise reported from the yard. 7:19, theft across the street. 7:20, bicycle accident. 7:22, Martha reaches the yard. 7:23, Diego enters the apartment. 7:25, refugee workers still active. 7:30, football practice begins. Everything fit, and nothing did. Detectives focused on Diego's afternoon. He said he lost his wallet earlier. He said he searched for it near his car. He said he came home early. But no one could confirm exactly when. One officer asked quietly, if he arrived seconds earlier or seconds later, would it change everything? The answer was yes. And that made Diego dangerous, not because of what he did, but because of what could be imagined. The stolen bag was recovered in a trash bin 2 blocks away. Money gone, documents untouched, too clean, too selective. One detective said, "Professional thieves don't create chaos, they avoid it. So why steal at the exact moment a boy was dying? Coincidence or cover?" The thief was never identified, which means he could be anyone or no one at all. This time they didn't ask Martha what she saw. They asked what she felt. Did anything seem familiar? Martha hesitated. From the rooftop, bodies are shapes, movements are gestures, she said. I saw someone move like someone who knew the place. The officer wrote it down. But familiarity is subjective. A neighbor, a family member, a frequent visitor, or a boy who grew up there? Adrian was called back in. This time the questions were sharper. Why did you reserve the football coach earlier that day? Why did you arrive late? Why did you come home alone? Adrian answered calmly, too calmly. He said football helped him think, that he liked the structure, that he didn't want to be home that evening. The officer leaned back. Why not? Adrian shrugged. Family stuff. That answer echoed Diego's. Family stuff is not an alibi. It's a curtain. The bicycle boy changed his story slightly, not dramatically, just enough to matter. He said he didn't fall near the yard, but closer to the alley. That placed him nearer to where the thief ran, or where someone else might have escaped. When asked why his hands were injured, he said, I tried to stop someone. No one asked who. An audio expert reviewed the environment, tools, music, distance. It was possible, even likely, that the refugee workers had nothing. But it was also possible that someone closer heard more than they admitted. Silence, the report concluded, was not neutral. Late that night, Martha found Adrian sitting on the balcony, the city lights reflected in his eyes. You don't have to protect everyone, she said. Adrian didn't look at her. I know, he replied. A pause. Then almost inaudible. Sometimes things just happen too fast. Martha closed her eyes. Too fast for who? The detective summarized the case in his notes. Every suspect fits. Every version works, which means what version is being protected. And as Martha lay in bed, listening to Adrian move in the next room, she realized something terrifying. The truth wasn't hidden in the street. It was living inside the house. Part 2. Everyone has an alibi. In the hours after murder, people don't ask who did it. They ask something else. Where were you? By midnight, the street was quiet again. Too quiet. Police tape stretched across the yard where Ali had fallen. The blood was gone, washed away by water and time, but the shape of it still existed in people's mind. Inside the apartment, Martha sat at the kitchen table, hands wrapped around a cold cup of tea she hadn't touched. Diego stood near the window, smoking, even though he had quit years ago. Neither of them spoke. Adrian was in his room, the door closed. The police questioned Martha first. They always do, because mothers notice things others don't. They ask her simple questions. What time were you on the rooftop? Why were you there? Did you hear anything unusual? Martha answered carefully, but too carefully. She said she heard a noise. She said she ran down. She said she saw Ali on the ground. Nothing more. The officer waited. Did you recognize anyone nearby? Martha shook her head. But inside her mind, a detail refused to disappear. The boy in the yard that night was wearing a dark hoodie. And Adrian owned a hoodie exactly like that, but so did half the boys in the neighborhood. Diego's interview came next. His hands were still stained red under the fingernails. He explained that he came home early from work, that he was angry, that he had lost his wallet earlier in the day and spent time searching for it near a parked car. That detail caught the detective's attention. So, you weren't home at the exact time of the incident? Diego hesitated. I was close, he said. Very close. Close enough to hear something, close enough to arrive seconds later, or close enough to live. Across the street, the theft report came in. The stolen bag contained cash, documents, and the phone. The timing matched the murder almost perfectly. Witnesses described a young man running, hood up, head down. Some said he was tall, others said he wasn't. One neighbor said, "He ran like someone afraid, but not like a thief." Police noted it. A crime inside a crime, a perfect cover. The boy who fell from the bicycle was questioned next. His face was bruised, his knuckles scraped raw. He said the fall was an accident, but the doctor quietly noted something else. These injuries don't all come from a fall. The boy avoided eye contact. Did he fight someone? Did he arrive too late? Did he see something and panic? No one could be sure, not even him. The workers on the B side were interviewed as a group. They were nervous, not because of the murder, but because of their papers. They all said the same thing. We were working, we had music on, we didn't hear anything. One officer believed them, another didn't. Silence can be innocence, or it can be the best alibi of all. Adrian's turn came last. He sat straight, too straight. He said he had football practice from 7:30 onward. He said he booked the court earlier that day. The reservation existed. The court manager also confirmed it. But there was a gap. A small one. A few minutes before practice started. "What did you do before football?" the officer asked. Adrian shrugged. "Nothing special," he said. The simplest lie is always nothing. That night, Martha stood outside Adrian's bedroom. She knocked once. Inside, Adrian sat on the bed. They didn't talk about Ali. They didn't talk about football. Martha only asked one question. "Did anyone see you before you arrived?" Adrian looked up. "No," he said quickly. Too quickly. The next morning, detectives pinned photos on the board. Diego, Marta, Adrian, the thief, the boy on the bicycle, the workers, the neighbors. Every face had a reason. Every face had a moment, and no one, not even the police, could say who was lying. Because that night, everyone had an alibi. There is a moment in every crime, a single minute, when the truth still exists, before fear rearranges it. This story lives inside that minute. Marta was on the rooftop. She always watered the plants at the same hour, not because the plants needed, but because she did. Up there above the nose of the building, the world felt quieter, safer, more controllable. She held the hose in one hand, her thoughts were elsewhere. Then she heard something, not a scream, not a crash, something heavier, something wrong. The hose slipped from her fingers. Marta didn't shout, she didn't think, she ran. It took her about a minute to reach the yard, 60 seconds. She would later replay every step of that minute in her head, wondering if arriving earlier would have changed anything. In the yard, she saw Ali, 15 years old, her sister's son, a boy who still borrowed hoodies that were too big for him. He was on the ground, blood everywhere, too much blood. Ali was still breathing, but not in the way living people breathe. Martha stopped. Her body refused to move. Her mind refused to understand. At the exact same time, one floor above, the apartment door opened. Diego stepped inside. He had come home earlier than usual, angry, distracted, and then he saw Ali, dying. Diego dropped to his knees, pressing his hands against the wound, shouting for help, but his voice was swallowed by something else. Chaos. Across the street, a woman screamed. Someone had just stolen something from her house. A bag, money, documents. People ran. Someone shouted, "Stop him!" Someone else shouted, "Call the police!" Doors opened. Windows slammed. At the same moment, a bicycle crashed near the corner. A teenage boy fell hard onto the asphalt, blood on his face, skin torn, hands shaking. People rushed toward him too. 2 emergencies, 1 street. No one knew where to look. On the B side of the building, music was playing loud, heavy bass. A group of refugee workers hammered metal panels, sparks flying. They didn't hear screams. They didn't hear running footsteps. They didn't hear a boy dying. Later, they would say, "We thought it was just another noisy evening." When the police arrived, the street already looked guilty. Everyone was talking. Everyone had seen something. No one had seen everything. Ali was lifted onto a stretcher. Marta stood against the wall, silent, pale, unmoving. Diego's hands were still red. Officers began asking questions. Who found him first? Did anyone see someone run away? Was there a fight? Answered overlapped, contradicted, collapsed. And then the gate opened. A boy walked into the yard, Adrian. Football bag over his shoulder, sweat on his forehead, his face tired, maybe bruised, maybe just exhausted. He stopped when he saw the police, the ambulance, the crowd. What happened? No one answered. Marta turned slowly. Mother and son locked eyes. For just a second too long. Something passed between them. Not words, not explanations. Something heavier. The football bag slipped from Adrian's hand and hit the ground with a dull sound. Marta flinched. A police officer approached. "Signora, was your son here this evening?" The entire yard seemed to linen. Marta looked at Adrian. Adrian looked at her. And for a moment the truth hovered in the space between them, unspoken, undefined, dangerous. "He just arrived," Marta said quietly. "He was at football." The officer nodded and walked away. That night the street slowly emptied. Ali was gone. Questions remained. And somewhere inside Marta's silence, a memory refused to stay still. Because the sound she heard on the rooftop was not the sound of chaos. It was the sound of something ending. Part 4. The things we don't say. Every investigation depends on words, but the most important part of a crime is often made of silence. 3 days after Ali's death, the police returned to the courtyard, not to arrest anyone, not to accuse, just to rebuild the minute. They asked witnesses to stand where they had been that evening, to point, to guess, to remember. And that's when the first problem appeared. No one remembered the same thing. One neighbor said the scream came from the yard. Another said it came from the stairwell. A third said there was no scream at all, just running for the steps. Memory, the detectives realized, was already rewriting itself. An officer climbed the stairs to the rooftop with Marta. They stood exactly where she had been watering the plants. "From here?" the officer said. "You can see the yard, but not clearly." Martha nodded. He asked gently, "Are you sure you recognized anyone?" Martha didn't answer immediately. "From that height, people looked smaller. You saw shapes, movements, colors, not faces." "I saw a boy," she said finally, "running." The officer waited. "Are you certain who it was?" Martha shook her head. Certainty is a luxury memory rarely allows. At work, Diego's colleagues talked. They said he had been furious that afternoon, that he argued with someone on the phone, that he left abruptly. Police asked him about it. It was nothing, Diego said. Family problems. Family problems can mean anything, especially after a murder. One officer quietly noted, "Anger doesn't prove guilt, but it creates momentum." Ali's phone was recovered. No threatening messages, no obvious enemies. But there was something strange. A missed call from an unknown number, minutes before the murder. The call was never returned. The number couldn't be traced. Just another loose thread. Then there was Ali's wallet. It had been stolen an hour before he died. Inside it was supposed to be money, a bus ticket, and a folded piece of paper, a drawing. No one talked about the drawing at first, until an officer casually asked Martha, "Did Ali ever draw your son?" Martha's breath caught. "Yes," she said quietly. "He liked to draw people." The officer nodded. He didn't say what he was thinking, but Martha knew. Drawings are intimate things. The football coach confirmed Adrian arrived late, only a few minutes, not enough to matter in a game, enough to matter in a murder. Adrian said traffic delayed him. Traffic always delays people who need time. Still, nothing proved he wasn't where he said he was. Nothing proved he was either. The boy who fell from the bicycle finally admitted something. He had argued with Ali earlier that day about nothing serious, about something just stupid. But when police asked, "Did you see anyone near Ali before he was hurt?" the boy hesitated, then said, "I saw someone I thought I knew, but I'm not sure anymore." That sentence stayed in the report, unfinished, uncomfortable. That night, Martha found Adrian in the kitchen. He was washing his hands again and again. "You don't have to do that," she said softly. Adrian stopped. "They smell," he said. Martha didn't ask anything. She only reached for the towel and handed it to him. Their fingers touched. Both pulled back. Some truths are too heavy to hold together. The lead detective wrote in his notebook, "Everyone remembers something. No one remembers everything." And in the silence of the apartment, as Martha lay awake listening to Adrian breathe in the next room, one thought returned again and again. What if the truth isn't hidden, but simply being protected? Part 5. What the night keeps. Some nights don't end. They stay. They move into walls, into memories, into the way people avoid each other's eyes. This is one of those nights. Weeks passed. The police stopped coming every day. Neighbors stopped whispering every time someone walked by. The street returned to something that looked like normal. But the case didn't close. It simply slowed. No arrest, no confession, no clear mistake, only a folder that grew thicker with uncertainty. Ali's room remained untouched. His mother couldn't enter it. his brother avoided the street entirely. Sometimes late at night, people swore they heard footsteps in the courtyard. Someone said it sounded like running. Someone else said it sounded like someone stopping suddenly. No one agreed. The knife was never found, no fingerprints that held, no blood trail that made sense, only fragments. A stolen wallet returned without money, a football reservation that proved nothing, injuries that could belong to an accident, a scream some people heard, a sound others didn't. Evidence, the detective realized, doesn't always accuse. Sometimes it just survives. Diego returned to work. People said he seemed calmer. Others said the opposite, that his anger had turned inward. He never spoke about that night again, not even at home. Some nights he slept on the couch, some nights he didn't sleep at all. Adrian kept going to football. He trained harder, stayed longer, came home later. The coach said, he plays like someone running from something, but running, like silence, can mean many things. Martha stopped watering the plants. The rooftop stayed empty. Instead, she spent time at the kitchen table, staring at nothing, replaying the same minute again and again. She asked herself questions she never voiced. Did I really see what I think I saw? Did I arrive too late or too early? Did fear finish what certainty started? Memory is not a recording, it's a negotiation. The lead detective visited Martha one final time, not officially, no recorder, no notebook, just a conversation. He asked one question. If you could go back to that minute, would you change anything? Martha thought for a long time. Then she said, I would listen harder. He nodded. Sometimes that's the only honest answer. One evening, Martha found Adrian in the hallway, tying his shoes. He was about to leave. Will you be late? She asked. Adrian paused. I don't know, he said. They stood there, close enough to touch, far enough to fall. Martha looked at him, really looked, at his face, his eyes, the voice she raised. She wanted to ask something, but she didn't. Adrian opened the door. Before leaving, he said quietly, some things people don't want to know. Martha didn't answer. The door closed. That night, Martha returned to the rooftop. She stood where she had stood before. The city was quiet. From up there, everything looked distant, smaller, safer, and yet, as she looked down into the yard, she realized something the investigation never proved. Truth doesn't always need confirmation. Sometimes it only needs to be carried. Martha closed her eyes. Below her, the courtyard was empty. No blood, no police tape, just silence. The case remains open. No one was charged, no one was cleared, and every person under the street still believes a different version of what happened because the night kept its secret. And maybe it was never meant to give it back. You've been listening to The Rooftop. So, now the question is yours. Who killed Ellie? And how certain are you that you want to know? This is the quiet dark room, a place for unsolved crimes, hidden truth, and stories nobody wants to explain. If you love mystery, analysis, and dark stories, like, subscribe, and step inside.